What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast, and we've got one show for you tonight. That when I say we've got a hammer on, we got a hammer, and I tell you, I have been whooped by this kid so many times in some tournaments. It ain't even funny, but I had to get over being the soreness, of having him just strop my hind end, and we finally got him on. Our schedules finally matched up to where we could get him on, and so. But guys, before we get going, we have some business that we need to take care of. This episode is brought to you by Bruiser Baits, FireFly Outdoor Marines, YoloTek, Spearpoint Hooks, Pro Line Baits, Joe Burns Rods, and Cornfield Fishing Gear. Guys, make sure you go check them out and use the discount code DECKTALK10 to get you a discount on those products because, again, you need some great product to be able to go out there and catch some big bags like Logan here does. And guys, but if you don't know, I am Colin Burnett.
I'm Pappy J.
So we got with us Logan Evans, and he is I guess you say he is a local guy to us, but he actually he's in college going to school in Central Kentucky.
Yep.
And on the fishing team there. And so, Logan, man, how are you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be on here. It took long enough to try to get on here, but I'm excited to be here, excited for the opportunity. I always love getting to talk about fishing and this, everything to do with the outdoors. Doing good. I'm halfway done with my collegiate fishing career at this point. I go to Campbellsville University, and I'll be a junior this fall. So
Heck yeah.
fishing, hunting, doing all I can do. So, and going to class every now and then.
I was about to say, you barely have time for class, don't you?
Oh, yeah. You got to make the grades to fish. If you don't make the grades, you won't be on the lake.
I definitely hear you. So Logan, can you tell us, like, how did you get started into fishing? Because I know with you being in the Chattanooga area, I mean, you're kind of in between the diamond and the rough. I mean, right now, I mean, you got Chickamauga, Nickajack, and Gunnersville, and then you got a lake that's trying to pull some big bags with Watts Bar not too far from us.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, my family, my dad, my grandfather, they always hunted and fished, and I started off at a young age just fishing on the banks at Chester Frost, crappie fishing, bluegill fishing, and then as I got older, I got serious in the tournament fishing when I was about 12 years old. After I got about 12 to 13, started fishing. Then I joined Saudi's team, Saudi High School, joined their bass fishing team, and the rest is history. It's kind of just went down. It's been very cool how it's all happened. And then now I'm in college, and it's just awesome. From looking back at sitting on a 5-gallon bucket with my grandfather fishing to take him in a boat now and bass fish and just specifically go after bass, and the same thing with my dad, and make the memories and just get to fish and get to do it. And not only here in Tennessee, but in college, it's opened the door where I can go to Oklahoma, Michigan, Florida. I mean, I can go to lakes that I would never be able to go to, at this age, and get an education on top of that, and travel with a great team that the guys that I consider my family. So it's been a big blessing. God really knew what He was doing.
That's
Something
good.
He did.
Well, and the thing is, it's like, because I know that when I first met you, I think you was a sophomore in high school. And guys, I'm telling you, when I tell you, I would get my rear end striped by Logan, and I mean, he would come into these tournaments and just wear us out. And he told us before we came on, he's like, we had back then we had it going. We found a bite that we knew what was going on. He said we didn't even use any kind of forward facing sonar or anything like that. We just had a bite that, you said you was looking for 3 bites a day, and that's all it was. And that's all it took, and he wore us out. So, but that was my first memories of Logan, and so. But I want to know, Logan, like how much work, with doing high school and then fishing collegiately, like how much work and preparation are you doing for these terms? Like, let's just say you're going to Lake Fork. How much preparation are you doing before you go into the tournaments?
That's a great question. 2 or 3 years ago, I would say, before how technology is now, I'd say, looking at paper maps, looking at more of your your long points, ledges, rock piles, brush piles, looking at your paper maps, trying to find something that's necessarily not the same, something that's a little bit different and not obvious to everybody else. And of course you got to look at the time of year, pre-spawn, post-spawn, how the weather's doing. You got to look at all these factors to
Right.
go into it. Now it's a little bit different on the how I obtain the information. The process never really changes. It's still the same process that I do, but with technology nowadays, I don't really necessarily look at a paper map as much as I need to. Maybe I need to get back to doing it more, but you can look at. I like looking at the Google Earth and being able to go back and look at when the water's down, when
Yeah,
the water's
that's
up,
been a big thing for me.
and the sad thing about it is anyone can access it, but very few do it. But not
Right.
everybody's going. There's only going to be one winner at every tournament, and only a select few that do good. And as for like what baits and stuff, social media is great. I mean, you can type in any lake in America, I'm pretty sure, and figure out and find videos of people fishing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a spot for fishing, but a technique or a bait, time of year. And it's one thing that, like, once you get into fishing, it's like riding a bicycle. Like we talked about ledge fishing a little bit earlier before we got on here. Once you find them in an area, or once you have success doing something one year, lakes are not all the same. They're going to be different, but some lakes fish the same. Some lakes are going to have similarities. So a certain
Yeah.
way you catch them on some places can be the same way you catch them on other places, and vice versa. It's different, but the TVA system's very like it's very much like that. You can do that pretty much on any
Yeah.
lake on the TVA with the ledge fish and finding them, on areas that they're pre-spawn, post-spawn. You know, they do about the same thing. It's just different techniques, depending on water
Exactly.
clarity and just how the weather is. Here in Tennessee, I've learned to fish through a lot of craziness because one day it's 12 degrees and then it's 75 the next day, and then a thunderstorm and a
Yeah.
tornado comes through 2 days later. So
Yeah.
the process doesn't change. It's just, I'd say just the way we obtain information and how technology is now, you can really obtain it and you can find it, I think, in my opinion, a lot faster and quicker than you would 2 or 3 years ago or 5 or 6 years ago, with the paper maps.
Right.
So we were talking earlier, and something that was pretty impressive that you had said. You was talking about, well, I guess at a early young age, 13, 14 years old, instead of going outside and playing outside or whatever, or, and enjoying your time with other kids your age, you was in there studying. What was you studying?
Map studying, looking at lakes.
Man, that takes some dedication right there. That's impressive. So what? I mean, was this influenced by your dad or your grandfather, or is this just something that you just wanted to do?
Honestly, I love fishing, and it's changed now. It's different meaning than when I was younger. When I was younger, I liked it because I got to spend time in Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was 12 and 13, when I started fishing tournaments and I was able to win, a little bit of money here and there, I was like, wow, you can actually win money doing this. And then it just developed, and, my competitive edge as I got older, I wanted to be the best at anything I do. I mean, I played baseball for 13 years, all the way leading up to my sophomore year. I finished that year out, and then I had to make a decision. I was like, you know what? I want to go with the fishing. That's what I want to do. So I put all my energy into my fishing from there on. And it wasn't necessarily one of my family members or like a friend. It was just like, I liked fishing, and I was able to see, I got to talk to, they had a Bassmaster Open here. I got to talk to Hunter Shryock. I got to talk to John Cox. I talked to them too. And I got to see them weigh in. I got to see John Cox win. I don't remember what his weight total was, but they weighed in at the East Ridge Bass Pro Shop. And I remember talking to him and being like, I could actually do this for a living. And it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to fall in my lap by no means, but like, if they could do it, I could do it too. And like, these guys, I was just amazed. Like, these guys get to go and fish for a living, and be their own boss and do their own thing. And most importantly, being God's creation. And that's what I love the most about it. And it's like, man. And then after that, it was like, I didn't have an issue, sitting in my garage for 2 or 3 hours, making sure all of my, tackle was perfect, and making sure that I had everything working good on my technology, on my graphs, my electronics, making sure everything was in tune to the way that I like. And then your map study, being able to be mentally sharp and know and look at things and constantly try to break something down. And, even if it would be like knowing a place like Chickamauga, looking at it completely different, that's always a great thing to do. And I'll just always try to think about how I could better myself, because I always looked at it as, if I'm putting in more effort right now than somebody else down the road, when that time comes, I should be better in theory, and I should be better prepared. And tournament fishing taught me one thing: controlled chaos. You can't control what
You're exactly right. So we got Steven.
And let the rest fall where it falls.
Yeah. Steven says, technology aside, what can you see that seems to give a younger person advantage over an older, more experienced angler?
Well, one thing I will say, and I know this ain't the most, I know forward facing sonar is heated debate, but one thing that I think leads to the forward facing sonar, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit because I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. The biggest difference, and Kevin Van Dam talked about this his entire time he fished. It's your G-Man talks about it too. It's your mental attitude. I think personally, and I don't want to offend nobody, but I think when you're younger, at a younger age, high school, college, and if you're not positive, you're not going to do good,
Yeah.
and that's the bottom line. And I think for a younger person, it's a lot easier to be positive and not dream, but be positive in nature no matter what happens, compared to some of our older people that, not that they're not positive, but I think it's a lot easier naturally when you're younger. And I think with the new age of how fishing is, I think that's why we have, so many people that are, they want to fish and they do fish, but certain people do good all the time. I think a lot of it has to do with your, just being positive, your mental attitude, because you can go out and have a great game plan, but if you lose a 5-pounder at 7:30 that morning, you still got 8 hours of fishing to do. You can't let one moment, and I've seen people, and I've let it happen myself, where I lose a fish and my whole day's ruined. So I think the biggest advantage you can have is just being not only mentally sharp, but having a positive attitude, because no one's going to tell you what to do up here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the tournaments get it's a mental game. The tournaments 9 times out of 10, I think they get won by decision making. And if you're not in a good frame of mind and you're not being positive, then no one can fix that for you. It doesn't matter if you got a $90,000 bass boat or a John boat. If you ain't got the right mental attitude, then that's no one can fix that for you but yourself.
Yeah. Well, here's a question that I believe that you should be able to answer, because it kind of tied in that, especially if people don't know that you went to a different high school than what you fished for. Mm-hmm. And this one says, we're from Middle Tennessee, and my boy is wanting to get into high school fishing, but cannot. The high school does not have a fishing team. How can he get into it?
Well, so what I'll tell you, for me, I went to Red Bank High School, played baseball there, loved playing baseball. I went to the middle school, high school, went through all of it, and they didn't have a team. I didn't want to necessarily start a team. I wanted to go somewhere that already had a good foundation and just be the let their brand be their brand and just fish through them and go through them. And I went to Saudi Daisy High School. So at Saudi Daisy High School, what happened is they had to have a team meeting. I said my name. I said how I fished. I fished a tournament the week before with them. Not an actual tournament with the school, but just as fun fishing. And they, the coach got together, the head coach at the time, and they just decided, and they had a vote, and I got in. They voted me in, and then ever since then, I've just been a part of their team, and it's the team's decision. Not every team is the same by no means, but I'm sure it's kind of like that. If you want to message me on Facebook, I can give you some contact of some people that do a lot with the fishing. I fished with Tennessee Bass Nation High School. Um, I know Jake Davis, Jeremy Finley, they do a great job. I I fished for them the whole time, and I know that they do a lot for the youth, and that's the only reason I can say that's the only reason that I was able to travel and I was able to do a lot of stuff is because they sacrificed their time and did all the stuff, and they set the stage for us to travel from Pickwick to Chick, all over Tennessee to Dale Holla, and they set the stage up, and we just got to hold some green fish over it and walk across, and it don't happen without them. I mean, they did it, and they
Yeah.
still do it, so it's awesome.
And being in Middle Tennessee, I mean, you've got the Mount Juliet fishing team. They are pretty stout.
Oh
So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they're pretty good. They're the rivals, I guess you could say.
so, but uh, Brian, make sure you message Logan, and he can help lead you in the direction that you need to go. And
Definitely.
so, a
And
lot better than what we Pappy and I could do. So,
oh yeah, and I love Mount Juliet. I have a lot of buddies on that team that still fish and graduated, but I always give them a hard time whenever I see them.
yeah, we won't say nothing about Presley.
I ain't gonna say nothing.
So, he's talking about another hammer. That is,
Oh
he
yeah, you
is he's a stick and a half too. So,
want to talk about a good angler and even a better guy and a better family. I love their family.
oh man,
He's
yeah.
awesome.
So, what has been the biggest thing with growing up on the TVA lakes? What what has been the biggest thing that you've learned going and fishing all these other? I mean, how much difference is there from TVA lakes with current, and then you have to really watch, like, I mean, because Chick, one day we could be at summer pool, the next day it could drop 2 feet, and with that fluctuation, and then go into like a highland reservoir. What has been the biggest thing that you have seen off of that?
The biggest thing, it's just taught me to be very diverse and be able to do anything really. Rather, I'm trying to sight fish up shallow, or I'm trying to catch post spawners offshore in 30 feet of water, or try to scope them nowadays. Or fish brush piles, fish suspended brush piles bait. Honestly, Chickamauga, it really taught me a lot about not necessarily saying forget your game plan, but like being able to adapt and have a game plan. Oh, I've been catching fish during this all week, and in tournament day it's 30 degrees colder and it's blowing 25 out of the south. Okay, we got to go fish a completely different end of the lake that's not muddy and blown out, and try to find. It's really helped me be able just to fish the conditions and just be able to not get caught up in my, I guess, old memories. And I guess sometimes it's good to do what you do in practice, but it's really taught me, sometimes you just gotta forget practice depending on the conditions and just fish what's going on. And like you said, I live up in Kentucky. Well, when I'm in school, I live in Kentucky, and we have a highland reservoir. They're all highland reservoirs up there. when I first got up there, I noticed two things. It was 60 foot deep everywhere, and there was no current. I'm used to like 40, 50,000, catching them. There's hardly no ledges at 60 foot deep, and there's a lot of fish suspended. And
Man,
it really taught me, the importance of, what line you use. Mono, fluoro, not that it wasn't important before, but on the TVA, typically you can get away with a little bit bigger line depending what you do if you're not throwing a spinning rod. And I learned up there that, when I get up at school and I'm getting in that super clear water where it has 5 to 8 foot visibility, sometimes more in the summertime, I downsize. I like Seagar. I guess I'll plug them. I love throwing their line. I throw their Tatsu. Their Tatsu, I really like it. And, I've heard people say that it's expensive. And yes, it is expensive. But, when you're fishing, there's only certain things you can control. And, I try to, you know, I want to have the best I can have. And, at the end of the day, you pay for what you get for. I mean, the price you
right.
pay is what you're going to get. You buy some cheap stuff, it's probably not going to hold out that best, And I'm not saying Seagar's the best, but I really like it. And from my experiences, I've really liked it. So that's just what I throw. But the line size and the quality of how the fish react to your bait with it being so clear, it's just it's a crazy difference from the TVA to like a Highland reservoir, and they act different, but they do have a lot of similarities as well. But
Yeah,
it's chicks. I guess the biggest thing chicks taught me is just fish the conditions and be open to anything.
yeah, and that's one thing that like that I've had to learn over the years, and which like we could go out there today and smash them, but then tomorrow we can go out there and do the exact same pattern and get skunked out there.
All the
So,
time. I had two tournaments where in which they was both dog fights. Wednesday night, Tuesday night tournaments. We just call them dog fights. I went out and I had some time off. This was last year before school because I didn't get to fish a lot, and I had these two Tuesday night and a Thursday night, and that Monday I caught them pretty good, and I was out idling around, and which ledge fishing, the idling. I love to do that. I idled for about 4.5 hours, and I found 10 different schools. The day before that, I had like my best three went like 15.5 pounds. Okay, tournament comes around that evening. Pick my dad up. We weigh in like 6.5 pounds. I caught 50 fish and they caught 2 pounds. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then we went that Thursday, same thing happened, and I didn't get to fish much last year. And then I went a couple weeks ago, and it was like didn't get the idle, didn't get the new nut, and had my waypoints, had my history. I'm like, well, they're pulling 30,000 out of the dam with the current, so let's just go looking around. Went looked around, and first cast was like a 3.5, and then like another 3.5. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I was like, last time I did this, I came out here and caught a bunch of 2 pounders, and now that I just go because I got off, I'm catching bigger. I'm not gonna complain, but it was just man, it was kind of crazy to me.
yeah.
But
So, I do not want to miss the opportunity and to talk to you about one thing because I think it's more important than fishing. Um, so I want to talk to you about your faith and how has your faith helped you with fishing, and how have you been able to use fishing for your faith?
oh goodness, we'll be on this one for a long time. I want to state off first of all that you have to put your faith into something. I believe that you can't walk through life, and especially out in this creation, without wondering who made what, how did it get there. With me being younger, I love the outdoors. I'm an avid hunter and fisherman, and I love the outdoors. And I remember at a young age, which I was brought up in church, I was very blessed with my family and I was brought up in church and taught the Bible, but it was awesome because I was able to get taught the Bible, get taught the things about God, about creation, and then I get to go outside and live in it and, get to see it hand on hand. And, it's just God's been so good to me and my family. And I think it's sad that that at times we run from the only one that can help us. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that He's always there to take us back. But God's blessed me. I got saved at a very young age, then got called to preach later on. And one thing about the fishing side of it is I do Facebook Live, and I don't do them nearly as much. And Facebook one day decided to delete all the Facebook Lives, so I can't even find none of them because they deleted them. But I would do tournament recaps about. I do like a quick 3-minute video about how the tournament went, if we did good, if we didn't. Sometimes we did great, sometimes we didn't. How we caught them, and I do it about every week. And I had one of the ladies at our church, and which my mom and dad, they brought it up too. They was like, why don't you not necessarily preach on Facebook, but why don't you, spread your faith, spread your gospel? And I was, 14, 15 at the time, and I started to do that, and it got very popular, and a lot of people, in which I thank God for it, that I had an audience watch me through social media and the new technology that we have, and they was able to watch me on the phone, and I was able to spread the gospel, and I was able to actually, you know, reach people, not any of my doing, but I was able to reach and spread the faith like on here, that
Yeah.
people not necessarily maybe couldn't go to church or they couldn't, I was able to spread the gospel and they was able to watch me. And it was just awesome that they got to see the fishing as it wasn't the main thing. That was just a bonus. They got to see me fish tournaments and like my post as a bonus, but in reality, I truly believe that it was only and because of God and Him letting me have, I guess, my 3, 4 minutes of fame or 5 minutes of being able to talk and just spread His good news. And then that goes on to the tournaments, at the Elite Series when they let them talk for, a minute, 30 seconds, whatever it may be. Tennessee Bass Nation, Jake Davis and David Larry, they run the Bass Nation tournaments, Tennessee Bass Nation High School, and they would always let us, say something or talk for a couple seconds or whatever it might be, especially out of championship tournaments. And I would always remember I wouldn't worry about the 8-hour tournament. I wouldn't get stressed out about it. I wouldn't. Oh, I only came in with 10, 12 pounds today. I was worried about that 30-second period where I could get on stage. And my partners, they never got to talk because I jumped on the mic. And I had 30 seconds to say something. And I could always remember, and I've been taught my whole life that sometimes we're going to be the only Bible that somebody's going to read. And I
Yeah.
remember that there'd be days, I'm not going to lie to you, I know the devil would attack me and make me have the worst day fishing I've had all week or all month. And I'd come in so mad and so upset, wanting to fight everybody. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, this is the whole reason I'm here. Same thing in college. The whole reason I've got here is because of God. It's not an ability that I developed. It's that God looked ahead and is like, you know what? I'm going to give you the ability to hunt and fish in my creation, and I'm going to give you that ability. And which the fishing and all that's just a bonus for what God's main purpose is, and that's to spread His gospel. So I get to weigh my fishing, I get to talk on stage, and I get to say, thank my sponsors, But I want to thank God, blessing me with this opportunity because when you take God away, I mean, things crumble. You can't take a foundation of a house away and not expect the house to crumble. And I think if we could get back to understanding that He's the rock and He's the center of everything, and you can't take Him away, it's impossible to take Him away. And when we
Yeah.
try to do it, we just mess things up a lot more. That
Oh, in a
translates
heartbeat.
to college. I get to have my 30 seconds and I want to had a rough day or had a great day. I want to thank God for blessing me to be here, keeping us safe. You know, thank Him for all that He does, because without Him at the end of the day we wouldn't be able to do this. It's just
Yeah.
it's all through Him, and when you take Him away, bad things tend to happen.
Yeah. Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head when when you said that we don't really know, like some people don't know the creator and don't know and don't call to him or even have that relation to for him. And it reminded me, like in Matthew and in Mark, when Jesus walked on the water, Mark has in Mark, it has like another little extension onto where people kind of oversee. They think of the miracle of him walking on water, but in Mark it tells us, Jesus would have passed them on by if they did not call upon him. He was going to pass them by. So that to me, it's like, you know, he's going to lead you, but he's going to lead you only if you call upon him, and he's going to help you if you call upon him. And I thought that was pretty cool how you kind of hinted at that when you said, like, I mean, some people don't even call upon him, or even and so I thought that was, and I thought it was kind of funny too that being on a boat and we're a fishing podcast and he was walking on water, and I mean, but he would have passed them on by, knowing that they were struggling.
Oh yeah,
And so,
it's a great
but
quote.
how have you been able to, and you may not even know, and like, because we talked about this earlier on the phone, like, you doing those little lives, even though Facebook has deleted them, but you don't know how many people has seen that live and may not even been alive. They might have just seen even the recording after the live and been like, man, that it really spoke to me. And so I got to, for myself and, and Pappy, we believe, I mean, the only way is, I mean, is to look up and call upon him and follow him and listen to what he has to say. And for you to do that at such a young age, and you've done it, I mean, for as long as I can remember, um, and I've got to, I really look up to you. I mean, as a little brother in Christ, I mean, it means a lot to be able to see young people to be able to stand up for Christ, and because nowadays, like Pappy and I were talking here earlier, like, not this generation now. I mean, it's all about what I can get and everything else. It's not about building any kind of relationships with people or with God. You know what I mean? So, and for what you do and what you stand up for, we really appreciate it. It really says a lot about your growing up and how you were raised, and so thank you for being that that leg for younger people and even older people to be able to look up to and be like, if Logan's doing it, then I can do it.
Just
And so,
continue to be that lighthouse.
yeah,
Continue to be that lighthouse.
And that's one thing that blows me away. It's like, and I know that everyone's story is different, and everyone's story is meant to be different. But it's like, I think at times we get so wrapped up in what God got us out of, or what we was going through, or where we was at, and it's like at the end of the day, we're all going to stand before the Creator, and it says
yeah,
in Revelation, He's going to come back with a name that everybody will know, and you can either know Him now and live with Him, and let Him live with you and be with you and be present with you till you die, and then spend eternity with Him, or you can be eternally separated. But you're going to see the Creator one day. So I mean, I I don't know why you wouldn't want to live with Him daily and then spend all of eternity with Him. I mean,
yeah,
it's mind blowing to me. But I'm very grateful and blessed for my family that brought me up in God's house and taught me in the Bible, because I understand that it can be very different. But the good news is if you don't have that story, if you don't have that foundation, if you wasn't fortunate enough for that, God can still save you, and you can still have the same ending. We'll all have a different beginning. Not everybody will be the same, but I'm very happy and grateful that we can all have the same ending. So that's the good
exactly,
thing.
man. And it just amazes to me. I mean, just the knowledge and stuff, fishing, and everything that I've seen that you have done. It's either all or nothing, and so and just the knowledge and the passion that you have, brother, man, it's amazing to me. Just I mean, because you do not see it. I can think of select few. I don't want to say kids because you're not a kid, um, but young adults. I can think of just a select few. That has that will and desire to want to do what's right, and then to be able to spread the word. I mean it, and and I've noticed one thing with you that um, it doesn't really. Because I've seen you in tournaments and stuff, and it may not be to where you go and you spend um, a lot of time talking to people. It may just be, a smile or a head shake or whatever you do. Um, it's always seemed to where people can see that through you with whatever social media that you have done and whatever fishing tournaments and stuff that I have seen you. And I know that with knowing you and your dad through fishing, that I just know that that's how you was raised and brought up, and just to see that you have actually kept on following that footsteps has just been amazing, brother. So, but I do want to ask one thing. We have. Hold on, before I get going with that, before I forget, do you know Jeremy Farmer?
I might. I don't know. If I seen on Facebook, I probably do, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I'm really bad with names.
So Jeremy Farmer has, what is it? JC. I think it's called JC Baits. He makes glide baits, and these glide baits I have never seen anything like them. Um, he actually took like a gizzard shad. I don't want to say the size of the gizzard shad because I know I will butcher it and get it wrong. He took a gizzard shad, made a mold out of a live, or not alive, but out of a real gizzard shad, and he makes these glide baits off of that mold that he took off. And one thing that I've noticed different, in which Pappies have seen them and had them in his hands and stuff, is like the gill plates and stuff are open, so you can actually see, and he's got them. It's like a felt top deal that's in it, to where it actually looks like it's actually real gills in it.
And you can also tighten up the tail of it.
Yeah,
if if it's swimming if there's too much tail action, you can kind of tighten it up or however to your liking.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, man. He's got some good stuff. He's got some really good stuff.
So he says that he wants to donate to Logan and Fishing Partners a couple of his baits of their choice. So, Jeremy, if you can message Logan, and he's going to be here in the Chattanooga area, in which Jeremy lives over there close to Fishtails. So,
okay.
Hopefully y'all can meet up, and these baits, you're going to be phenomenal. He's got some blade baits as well, man, that are.
They're
goodness.
So you just got to get and just let him just send you pictures of what he's got on it, and you're going to be surprised. You're going to be like, yeah. So
well, thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it. Just message me. I'm sure we can meet up and get something going.
Yeah, for sure. So, what has been your favorite lake that you have? I mean, because you've been able to fish in different states all over the country. What has been your favorite lake that you have been able to fish?
Favorite lake? I don't. I don't necessarily do. I guess favorite lake. I guess favorite species to catch, I would say, is the best. I love smallmouth fishing. I've got to do it a handful of times. I wouldn't say I have a favorite lake, but I have like a favorite top three. I really like St. Clair up in Detroit, Michigan. That's a very fun one. I love the Saginaw Bay. It's awesome up there to fish. Can't leave out Lake Gunnelsville. That's a staple in all the fishing. I don't really have a favorite. I guess. I mean, I love fishing down in Florida too on the Harris Chain of Lakes. So, um, man, I can't really have. I guess if it was a favorite, it'd have to be here at my home. The TVA system, I guess I would say, because I love Pickwick as well.
Yeah.
Pickwick is one of my favorites as well.
Well, and the thing is like TVA, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Logan. TVA lakes probably help out more anglers than any other river system or anything like that because you can you can fish shallow, you can fish grass, you can do ledge fishing, you can do all these different types of fishing. Any kind of way you want to fish, you can fish it on the TVA. The only thing that I guess that would kind of hinder that's negative about TVA would be like what you said, 60 foot of water, no current. So that would be kind of hard to do. So, but um, what what has been like the one of the things that you have taken away with high school fishing and college fishing because you get to fish with people that may not be located here on the TVA. Maybe somebody that's excuse me that has fished the that's from up north that's fishing highland reservoirs. Have you been able to like merge and be able to pick their brains, and they've also been able to pick your brains for the Tennessee River and river systems and stuff? Has that been able? Have you been able to do that with fishing high school and collegiate?
I would say for high school, not as much as college. High school, we the only time we'd really travel out of Tennessee is when we'd have like a big Bassmaster Open for high school or a Major League Fishing tournament outside of high school, something big. But high school, it was honestly in high school, there's about 15 or 20 of us that was great friends, but we would never share information. And that kind of hurt to an extent because we wasn't able to help each other and grow better. And then when we split off and went different ways in college, now up at Campbellsville with my team, I have guys that are from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida. I have guys that's from about everywhere you can go to, and all different techniques. And one thing that kind of surprised me is we're all over the place. We're from different states, all over America, and we have the same love and the same passion for the outdoors and fishing. And honestly, other than a certain different changes like in the environment, deep water, TVA, just the certain differences in the lake and the climate, we pretty much do the same things. The techniques are pretty much the same, but they're just a little different and you tweak them for certain things that you do. But yes, it's been very, beneficial. And a lot of us, honestly, a lot of the guys which would live in Kentucky, we was all our freshman year. There's a handful of us that we had to learn how to fish up there on the lakes that we had kind of all over again, and it took a little bit of practice. So we was all at the kind of the level playing field. And then as time went on, we got to get better kind of together and be like, hey, this works, or hey, I don't catch them like this, or whatever. But it has helped, and and that's at the end of the day, when you're a team, I've heard our coach say this all the time, Coach Tony Miracle. He's our coach. That you don't you don't win Team of the Year as one individual person. It's an entire team, and if you don't communicate with your team, I think that's like the worst thing you can do. Now, there's times communicating, kind of can hurt and not help. But overall, being able to talk and trust and being able to share information, that's a big part of being successful as a team, and it will help you as well. But you can't let the talk interfere with how you fish and what you do. But it does help
Right.
as well.
So earlier you said you would like to talk about the old forward facing
Oh
sonar.
yes, yes,
So
I would love
what's your thoughts on it?
to. My thoughts on FFS forward facing sonar. It's a great tool to use, and it's new technology and very effective. But I think one thing that I do not like about it, I'm going to go ahead and say what I don't like about it, and I'll say what I love about it.
Here comes
What
the
I don't like
comments.
about it, the main thing I don't like about it is it's separating the fishing community. All these young guys that have no clue how to catch them old school, old style, without electronics, without this, they're getting frowned upon, negative Facebook comments, Instagram comments. Well, if you take the live scope away, they'll never catch a bass. And it's like, I think the difficulty and the new phase of learning it and trying to be the best with it, looking at it, you need good eyesight, you need good ability to keep the trolling motor on the fish, cast to the fish, and move with it. And if you're older and you have a harder time standing up, you're going to have a rougher time doing it than a younger kid that's good with balance and got great eyesight and great ability. And the thing I hate about it is it's just separating, and it's making it to where all these older people are frowning upon the younger kids, and it's just causing this big mess. And it's fishing. At the end of the day, we're all out enjoying God's creation, and I hate when it divides and separates because I have the same love for fishing that y'all have. I have the same love for fishing that any 70-year-old person has. We all have the same love for fishing, and we all live in this great nation, and we have the freedom to fish. And we're going to let technology kind of separate us. I can't stand that. I wish it would bring us together instead of separating us. It's new technology. I remember the big talk about when side scan on the Lorenzus and Humminbirds came out and how that changed the way of fishing. Now, I'm not going to get into the effects of is it hurting, helping, because it is completely different, but it's a new tool you can use it to learn with. And there's multiple different ways you can use it. And I think too many people get caught up thinking that, oh, you can only use it to spotlight fish, and that is kind of true. You can catch the fish that are floating, that are swimming, actively swimming out in the middle of nowhere that you couldn't before without it. But you can also use it to see, and my favorite's to use it to see how the fish react. Are they swimming to my bait, away from it? What are they doing on that sense? How do they behave, how they following it, whatever it might be, and then how they're relating to the bottom and stuff. And what I also love is, you can you can use it to fish structure brush piles, and that's what I love to do. I really love to be able to look at a brush pile, throw my bait to it, and see how the structure is, whether it's a tree, stump, it's rocks, whatever it is, and fish the structure that way, and still use it, but not be trying to catch one specific fish that I see. Just being able to fish with it, and there's a lot of great tools. But
Yeah.
overall with it, I think it's a new piece of technology that is going to develop and continue to get better with how everything is now. But like I said earlier, I wish it would bring everyone together and not divide us, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you straight up, for college fishing, they gonna catch them with or without it. Take it away, they're still gonna catch it. They may not be as many 25, 30 pound bags, but they're still fish are still gonna get caught with or without it. So I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just who's gonna catch the blame. Is it gonna be the $85,000 boat, or is it gonna be the live scope? And I think people just like to blame the scope a lot easier than anything else. So.
Well,
And that was my next
yeah.
question: was the college how is college adapted to it?
If you ain't scoping, you're hoping. That's what everyone says. I can tell you that, and what really showed me this year, in which I've seen this getting into college, is that they're the best. Half the college is what's fishing the opens. It's what's
Mhm.
fishing the BFLs, Toyota series. I mean, they're the next generation, and they're always going to catch them. Like there's not been a tournament I fished since I started in college that someone ain't just cracked them. I mean, someone's always going to catch them, and it's really good because yes, it's a struggle, but if you fish against better people than you'll get better.
Well, that's how you grow too, though.
You to improve. You got to step out of that comfort zone and grow. In which the live scope is dominated a lot by the college anglers, but what I don't think people see the amount of time and the amount of no, I don't want to say training, but time they spend learning it and getting it to a way that they can learn it and use it. I mean, whether you have scope or not, it just doesn't fall in your lap. You still have to put the effort in, and you still have to try to at least learn it because if you don't put the effort in and go out there and just wing it, it typically doesn't end too well.
Nah. Well, it's like I have it on my boat, and in which we've heard it multiple times, and I'm sure you've heard it. Like it's a cheater box. And which I tell people like I've learned more than I've caught fish. But ever since I've had it on my boat for 4 years or so, I have not yet once had a fish just jump in the boat because I had it on. I still have to go out there and still have to catch. And but the main thing is like that I've learned is what we originally like how we grew up thinking that what fish done has been totally different. What I was raised up knowing about how bass reacted, what fish are doing and stuff like that. I've been able to learn so much, and just like what you said, you can see them following if you see them just coming up following the bait. Maybe that just tells you, all right, let's change the color of the bait. Maybe that's all you got to do, or maybe if they come up to it and just swim away, well, let's change baits. It allows you to make that decision a whole lot faster than just throwing without it.
Definitely, and I agree. And that's one thing that I think that live scope makes it easier to identify and easier to understand the behaviors of what a bass is because for the longest time, and I've heard a lot of the greats talk about this on Bassmaster Live, you always tell you there's post spawn, pre spawn, and then there's just fish, everywhere. Well, some people live on mountains, some people live in the valley. Fish are going to be everywhere, and that's one thing that blew me away is the amount of fish that are just constantly in one place. There's one specific area on Chickamauga. It's 10 foot deep. It's as big as my room. I always catch fish off of it. I ain't gonna say quite what it is, but I do not. I understand a little bit of why they're there, but I know 30 different places that are identical to it, and I catch fish off of this one spot, about as big as my room. I've caught some 7, 8s, a bunch of 5s off of it. I don't know why. Live scope has helped me be able to see if there's more fish on it, and I guess spook them less, being able to pan to them and then pan off of them and make my cast in there because we're so pressured on how everything is on chick nowadays. But it's really helped me be able to look and see like, okay, there's fish here, there's fish not, and which you can still use your 2D sonar side scan, even though that's not the latest and greatest technology, it's not going to go away. I mean, it's still great technology, but it really does help, and you can learn the behaviors. If you see a fish that's swimming underneath the surface really fast, could be a game fish. If you see one on the bottom not moving that looks big as me, 3 foot, 4 foot long, it's probably not a bass. If it's a bass, then it's a giant one. But every time I catch them, they're big catfish, and
Yeah.
it's a 30-minute fight on 6 pound test every time.
Yeah. So, got a question that says, who is your favorite pro fisherman and which one did you follow the most to learn how to fish better?
Oh, my favorite. Let's think about this. Honestly, when I was younger, me and my dad, we got into fishing about the tournament competitive fishing about the same time. Social media it's how you share everything nowadays. So Scott Martin always ran his social media, so therefore
Mhm.
I always watched his videos. And then now everybody has a YouTube platform, but back then he was the man who did a bunch of videos and posted everything. So I watched him. I like to watch Jacob Wheeler as well because he lived right up the road. He still does.
Yeah.
Um, watch him. Watch Scott Martin, and then Kevin Van Dam. I like to watch him a lot. I watch as I got older. I watched Jason Christie and Greg Hackney a lot more. But anyone that had information out there, I tried to watch and learn as much as I could, and it was a great time because as I was growing up, 2016, 2015, getting serious into it, social media took off, and there's just instead of having to read in the Bassmaster Times and all the magazines we got, I can just pull it up on my computer in 5 seconds and it's there, and I can
Yeah.
read information, and then I can watch a YouTube video on how to actually do it. Not that it's going to be the same when I go out, but it's just the technology has improved, and therefore it still takes the same process and the still drive and the same want to go obtain it, but it
Right.
is a little bit easier to gain and watch with social media in 2025 now.
Now, we a lot of people may not know that Pappy and I we work together at McKee, and when I say we work together, we we drive. We're partners. We drive and unload cakes and stuff like that. And he brought up something last year to me that I really did not realize until he said it and brought it up. And I want to know, with you hunting, have you been able to take like the maps, like the lake map study that you've done, and also be able to translate it to hunting? Because that's what like Pappy he does. Like he can look at. He does good with maps reading and stuff as well. But he's also been able to translate. He's like, you're just able to see what the contours and stuff are out on the, like, let's say out in Kentucky or whatever, in the hills and the mountains and stuff. You're able to see it, and to where in fishing you're not. So he's been able to look at that. Have you been able to utilize what you've learned from fishing, reading maps to your hunting?
Surprisingly, yes. Fishing and hunting's pretty much identical. It's the same. The only difference that I will say in fishing and hunting, in hunting, you can have private land. You can have as much money as you want to throw and spend on it to shoot the biggest buck you can shoot, spend X amount of money. Bass fishing is completely different unless you're fishing a pond. But tournaments that I fish on, and I could be wrong, they're all on the same bodies of water. You have the same practice, the same time, the same technology is open for anyone to buy and use. And at the end of the day, all as fishermen, we have to make the right presentation to that fish, and if that fish likes it, he's going to bite it. If he doesn't, he's not. Hunting, completely different. You can, and I know I'm kind of getting off on a rabbit trail, but I'll get back on it. But hunting, you can have private land. You can do all these different things you want to do, bait, whatever. Oh, that buck's going to walk here at 9:30 in the morning, with the wind in his face, or he's going to do this or that. Fishing, I love fishing a little bit more because it's equal playing field. You can bench press 225 and be 7'3". It doesn't matter at all. You can be 4'2". It doesn't. There's no your ability. Anything other than presenting the bait does not matter. It's how you present the bait, how you have the boat positioned. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Hunting, yes, you can read a map, and it's kind of crazy. My dad loves hunting. He's done it his entire life. He got me into it. Him and his dad, my grandfather, they love being out hunting, and he was all in on hunting. I was all in on fishing. So I was able to talk to him, and as I got older, relay the same information he told me and have the same connection of like, hey, that buck's going to walk here on this map with how the terrain is and how the wind is and how all these variables are. He's going to walk right here. And I'm like, well, wait a second. The fish is going to set up right here on this ledge depending on the current. And we was able to connect. and I was able to understand hunting and the lay of the land and how the deer reacting, walking, what they do, because I could compare it to fishing. And he was able to learn the fishing side better and see it more clearly by me explaining it how he did hunting to me. So we flip flop back and forth, and hunting's the same way. I like hunting too because you get to go and relax, and you know you can control what you can control, and at the end of the day, it is what it is, and you have to do your best, and sometimes you kill some, sometimes you won't. But I believe you're agree with me 100% on this, that some of my best memorable hunts and most relaxing hunts is when I've seen absolutely nothing.
You got that right. You got that right.
Just
And
being able.
it's interesting because, and we've had that conversation many a times. Um, you know, fishing and hunting, they are similar in ways and different in a lot of ways. But one thing that really brings them to, for me, anyways, is just how because they're animals. They're in they still have that animal instinct. So they're going to, whether it be a ledge or whether it be a slow dropping point, or it be a side of a mountain, they're going to kind of react the same way, no matter what, and um, it's funny how hunting really opened my eyes to be able to understand fishing a lot more in the whole map reading thing, and it's almost feel like I've accomplished something. I mean, whether I have or not, whether I figured something out or not, it just makes me feel better. You know what I mean? And it's really gratifying. I mean, I love it, but I like map reading though. That's one thing I do like is map reading.
So, what after you're going into your junior year, and so what is your plans for here in 2 years when you graduate college? What is the goals that Logan has? Maybe it may not be in 2 years, but what is like your 5 to 10 year goal? Do you have?
Well, I've noticed if I leave God out of it, it typically doesn't end well. For me, honestly, I believe what I would love to do. I've always looked up to Clay Dyer and how he travels fishing and he gets to preach at all these churches. And I would love to be able to be at a place financially, with or without sponsors, and be able to travel and fish, but still be connected and still be able to spread the good news, the gospel message. Rather, if that's on a stage fishing full time on the road and on social media, or if I get to fish and preach at churches every now and then, or if I get to be on the road with a company and do something, however it is, I would love to do it. But something in the fishing industry and just spreading the gospel, because that's why we're here. And I would rather spread the gospel and do my calling than run away from it and not do what I'm supposed to do. I don't want to have to answer for that.
No, I don't want to answer for that. So that is, I mean, again, that's amazing. Just
Mm-hmm.
because I know when I was your age and stuff, I don't know if I really had all I wanted to do, which I went to school for as a mechanic. I turned wrenches for 12 years, and then the good Lord put me driving a truck, and I've done that for 20 years. And so, but I couldn't imagine. I never did, and never did set any kind of goals like that. But it's interesting to talk to people, and especially younger people, and see what their goals are. And it's amazing that you're still going to keep it focused on God, and let Him just lead you wherever it may be. And sometimes it's not going to be the easiest road to hold, but if you got Him centered of it, it's gonna be a whole lot easier. So
Oh yeah.
what let's see. We actually we've had you on for a little over an hour, and don't want to take up too much more of your time. But Pappy, do you want to ask our question that we ask everybody?
Yeah, I will actually. So Logan, on ending everything, and it was good talking to you. But if you had one person to fish with, past or present, um, who would that person be and why?
Well, you asked me this earlier, and I thought I had a good answer, but I've been thinking, and that's a crazy answer because I fish with so many different people, and I've got to be so fortunate and fish with so many people, make so many great memories. And fishing's awesome about that, and I'm sure it's the same. It's the same for hunting. You get to meet people at tournaments. I got to meet you, Colin, and it's like if it wouldn't be for fishing, I wouldn't have met none of these people. And I don't think it was all by just luck. I think it was a divine meeting that God does on everything He
Absolutely.
touches.
Yeah.
But I'm not. It's just not to get on a rabbit trail, but it blows my mind how so many people I've been able to meet, and out of all the people that I've been able to meet, who I'd want to fish with, or who I haven't fished with, I want to fish with, I'd still, I'd still say I'd have to fish with my dad. Out of
Heck
all
yeah.
the people, he's done so much for me and my family, sacrificed so much, and my mom and dad are my number one supporters at all times and sponsors. And I don't think, especially in college and in high school, you know, even when I played baseball, they was the one driving me, taking me to games, fields. I mean, the parents are the number one, sponsors, and they do everything for us. And I thank mine dearly, not only for all that they have done, but all that they will do. And that it's just, I'd want to fish with my dad, definitely. We have so many great memories and so many times that I'll just never forget. And I mean, even with my mom, one thing that's actually coming up here in August, my birthday is August the 7th. We always, every year, we go fishing on my birthday if we can, and we'll pick a weekend and go fishing. And we always tend to catch them so good that day, every year. And that's one thing that I always look forward to, and which me and my dad, we try to fish as much as we can. But I just have to be with my dad. We've had some very special moments, and that's one thing that I don't like on the college side. It's where high school, he was my boat captain. He was with me traveling. College, you're on your own. It's you and another teammate, and that's pretty much it. You're with your team
Yeah.
and your coach, and I don't have him with me no more on the aspect of being in the boat, but I know he's one call away, and I'd say I'd have to fish with dear old dad. So
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
I mean, there ain't nothing uh, like going out there and fishing with your dad or your grandparents and stuff like that. I know, which both of my grandparents or grandfathers have passed away, and that's I would love to be able to have them, both of my grandfathers, out on the boat because they would be amazed with the technology for one, but then to see some of these baits. If they seen some of these swim baits that I'm throwing right now, they would die. Be like, there ain't no way.
if they knew how expensive they was, they'd be blown away too.
Yeah, they'd be throwing me.
Yeah, they'd be like, "What are you doing, boy?"
Yeah, and then
You
especially how
still didn't
expensive some of these boats.
spend all this money.
Yeah, just to throw it out in the water. What's wrong with you?
We'll break
So,
off.
then certain people that you have on the boat, you got to make sure you're out fishing far enough to where it's at least a cast and a half away from any kind of trees because I've lost a lot of chatterbaits and up in some trees because of people that I've had on the boat.
Oh goodness.
So, but Logan, man, you are awesome. We got to have you up on back on the podcast again and kind of just chit chat and just kind of see how things are going. I hope that next year that you just smash them. That they turning around asking who in the world is Logan Evans. So, um, but but I know that you're gonna keep your head down and keep on grinding. You're gonna figure something out. And but again, it is an honor and a pleasure to have been able to fish against you, and hopefully sometime here soon we can get out on the boat and have a little fun.
Pick your brain a little bit.
Oh yeah. So, but
I'm excited. I can't wait.
but guys, next week we will not be having an episode because actually Pappy and I will be down in Florida for ICAST down in Orlando. So we will be doing some lives down there and showing some new baits, going around doing some interviews and stuff like that. And we're going to have a little fun doing that, filming that, but then we're also going to be able to go wet a line or two and hopefully catch some nice Florida bass. So, but in the meantime of us also doing that, Pappy's going to enjoy some family time, and he's got a brand new grandbaby that he's going to be able to spoil down there. So he's got
two of them.
Oh, they're both going to be down there.
Yeah, well, my oldest grandbaby, the one that was Blakely, she was born in November. I don't know if she's coming yet or not. But then Kai, the brand new model, she was born in May. She'll be there. But I've had the privilege of having Kai now for about a week, I guess. Now my son, he's in the military. He's stationed over in North Carolina, and so him and his wife's over there. But they actually came down. And we're all going to go down to Florida from the house there. But I haven't been doing nothing but just snuggling up on her every chance I get.
So,
but
yeah. So guys, thank you again for watching. Logan, man, thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Yes, thank you.
And
thank y'all.
I hope that everybody has a blessed day. And remember, guys, God loves you as if you are the only person in this world to love. And hope to see you out on the water. And hope that you have a blessed one and have a great week. See you guys.
See y'all.